It's more than a little weird, isn't it, that at the very moment when really theatre should be celebrating the latest update to the government guidelines to get out of this coronavirus situation, has been met with so much disdain. Perhaps this week's A-level results and the controversy surrounding the postcode lottery and the downgrading of marks has caused a little bit more scepticism than normal around the public. But tomorrow marks the day when, albeit delayed by 2 weeks, when theatre, indoor performances of theatre, are allowed to recommence. Of course, there are some additional requirements on top of social distancing, still, both sides of the curtain. Namely, the wearing of face coverings is mandatory now across the entire auditorium throughout the duration of the whole performance. And no cheering, no singing along is permitted at all. But the most noticeable thing there is this is only professional theatre we're talking about. The amateur theatre, the guidelines for amateur theatre haven't changed. Amateur theatre is still only allowed to take place outdoors and involve a total number of people, all told, of 30 around the production. And again, face coverings must be worn throughout the entire performance again. No singing, no dancing, no music. And people are being asked to pay to attend these performances. Boy, it's going to be a long road back. I know that these are unprecedented times and we're all making this up as we're going along. But it's little wonder that all around us the pantomime season has been crumbling over the last week. And you can't say we didn't call this one. 10 days ago, Kudos announced that, let me read this out so I don't get any of this wrong. Due to Oliver Dowden's reiteration last week that the government won't be providing further guidance on theatres operating without social distancing until November at the earliest, they were to begin the consultation process with our partner theatres about the viability of each show. Since that moment, of course, December's pantomime season has virtually collapsed, with productions all up and down the country posting cancellation notices, totally wiping out 2020's production, in favour of postponing them to 12 months' time to the end of 2021. While there are still a few pantomime productions currently still announced as going ahead, we believe it's a bit more of a staggering process and the inevitable is going to happen anytime now. Even the great big Kudos Jewel in the Crown at the London Palladium, their great big pantomime Jack in the Beanstalk, it should be this year. It's got no star names running at the moment. You can't buy tickets online for the production. Kudos are never going to invest in a huge financial undertaking and announce such a plethora of star billing, which they always do at the London Palladium, if the Palladium's capacity is only going to be, say, between 500 and 600 people every performance. It won't pay, it's not going to happen. Mark our words. We take no pleasure whatsoever in announcing all of this stuff. All of this bad news, it seems, at the moment. Of course it's bad news. It's a disaster, it's a tragedy. As regular readers of Sardines will know that by now, every single year we cover at least half a dozen of the great big professional massive productions, panto productions, to bring you interviews, star tips, advice from some of the biggest performers in the business as inspiration for your own performances that go on all up and down the country. Over the years we've spoken to the likes of Brian Conley, Craig Revel-Horwood, Leslie Joseph, Tim Vine, Stephen Mulhern, it goes on and on, Christopher Biggins, Steve McFadden, Jesse Wallace, among countless others. And that's in addition to some of the biggest directors, producers and panto writers in the industry. So this year, there's not much good news, is there? There's not much positive light at the end of the tunnel. The only silver lining we can really think of at the moment is that quite possibly something that Ben Crocker, who we've recently spoken with, the panto writer Ben Crocker, very popular with amateur companies all up and down the country, something he said to us, and that is, because amateur theatre companies, societies, charities are not financially restricted to performing every December like the professional companies are, there's a possibility that they could maybe shift their timeline a little bit and put on some sort of panto performance later in the new year, maybe even up to Easter at the springtime. By then, of course, a successful vaccine may well have been introduced to the market, and we'll all be telling each other anecdotes about, do you remember that time when we had to shut down, and it'll all be forgotten. Who knows? But won't it be interesting if, for a change, the amateur market can lead the way back into theatre? You know, amateur theatre may not have the big budgets and the star names and the soap stars and whoever it is, the big comedians announced to perform in our pantomimes, but the word community is very important, and this is something else Ben Crocker touched on. Won't it be interesting if it's the community companies, the community theatres, that are responsible for bringing theatre back to the community? Now, speaking of Ben Crocker, alongside fellow pantomime writer Tom Whalley, and also two of the biggest theatre producers in the country, that's Imagine Theatre's Laura Taylor and head of UK Productions Martin Dodd, we've produced a fantastic feature in our next up and coming issue. The feature's called Panto in Ruins, ? And it looks at the whole of this situation about whether the inevitable is going to happen and this year's season is going to be wiped out. So, while the Panto in Ruins feature is essential reading, as is our special 25-page feature on life in lockdown, which you also won't want to miss, that's the good news. The bad news is you will need a digital subscription to read the next issue because it's going to be online only. However, while print subscribers automatically receive a free digital subscription, we have just introduced some very, very, very low online only digital rates. £7.50 gets you 6 months of digital access, while £12 gets you a whole year of digital access. That's just £1 a month to read Sardines digitally. And don't forget, whenever you have digital access, you have access to every single issue of Sardines that we have ever produced. You can read any issue in past years, and we're on number, this next edition is going to be number 49, so there's a fair few to read. You can even download the PDFs if you want to. The link to subscribe to Sardines, or just to find out some more information and look at the prices, is below this video. Just click on that and you can go through to that. That's it for now. If you like this video, please click the subscribe button. If you click the little bell next to it, you'll be notified every time we post a new video, so please do that. Leave any comments you've got below this video or on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Start a little conversation. That'll be fun to read. And that's it. We'll see you next week. Stay safe, stay well. Let's keep our fingers crossed for a vaccine. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.